the car. I'm just going to go close to the car and show you the car in more detail. Now, those of you who watched our coverage live from the Frankfurt Motor Show last month will remember that this car was unveiled officially to the public at the Frankfurt Motor Show in September. Hi Shashank. Yes, superb car indeed. But we'll come to that later. So this is what the new Audi A8 looks like. This is the long wheelbase version. You can see that enormous length. That is the long wheelbase version. And I believe this one is the short wheelbase version. Right there. So, no, I think this also is the long wheelbase version. I don't see any short wheelbase versions out here right now. Anyway, so I've been driving this car all morning, so the review will of course be up on Overdrive in some time. There will be a video review as well, but we'll come to that later. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you the car in detail. Chinoy, yeah, in fact, I've been luckier earlier as well. I saw this car being unveiled in Frankfurt in September. But yes, it is a beautiful looking car. It's really long. You're absolutely right. And we have been driving on some narrow roads in Spain today, the city roads, of course, of Valencia. But I intend to take these cars out onto the highway and to some twisty roads as well a little later. So yes, Parikshit, just hold on for a sec. I am going to show you the cabin, but let me first now quickly show you the design. So let's start talking about the design, in fact, instead of just moving around the car. That grille, that big single frame grille is now much larger and it has a more upright profile now as compared to the outgoing car. And that is sort of what gives that face a very imposing stance, a very imposing presence. And then you also see the sleek design for the headlamps. When I gave you a walk around of the Audi A5 recently, I told you that the A5 was sort of a preview of what was to come for the Audi sedans. And well, this is the first completely new design language, is what Audi says. Now, to me, it looks more revolutionary than revolutionary, but this is a new design direction for Audi. It begins with the new A8. So essentially what they mean is things are going to get even sharper from now on, and all the lines, all the design elements are all going to contribute towards making the car as sharp as possible. Yes, I'm going to move to the tail, Amit. It's a huge grille, of course. The cabin, I'm going to come to that. Karthik Sadegar, thank you so much, sir. I have a lovely voice and I love your photographs. Okay, so those are the new headlamps. So now it is a combination of the matrix lamps that were already available on the A8 sold to us, and also gets the laser technology, so that in turn not only makes the headlamps safer for the other road users as well. It doesn't obstruct their field of vision, or it doesn't dazzle them, but at the same time it also gives you a much longer field of vision, thanks to the kind of illumination that it provides. Unfortunately, that's not something that I have been able to test, because we've only been driving this car during the day. We did get a brief chance to be driven around in this car last night, but again, within the city environment, so of course couldn't really test the scope of those headlamps. I'm going to move to the tail. I think this is the prettiest angle for the car. What I particularly like is that one seamless strip of lighting that sort of highlights the width of the car and at the same time looks beautiful at night. It gives it a very distinct character. And what I like more is all that OLED or OLED ornamentation. It really looks beautiful. Makes this car look very new age, very futuristic. So on the higher end models, what you see on the either ends of the bumper becomes an exhaust tip, or a port for the exhaust, and that's on the higher spec models. This is literally the base. The 50 TDI is literally the baseline for the Audi A8L. I'm going to come to the engines in a bit. Now, what I particularly like about the design, if you try and focus on the lines, I'm not sure if you can see it with all the bright elements here, but what I really like are these sharp creases. So as we've already seen on the Q7 and the A5, the bonnet shut line, that becomes the belt line, and the shoulder line, if you see, has been moved down. So Audi says it's a conscious effort to sort of make the car look more low slung. But if you see the side profile, again, I'm not sure if you will be able to notice, but there are literally quite a few lines there. There is, of course, the window line, there's the belt line, the shoulder line, and what Audi likes to call the quattro blisters. So you see this little streak here, and there's one at the back as well, which sort of, that's the one, which sort of again gives this car a more wide stance, and they call it the quattro blisters, gives the wheel arches a more muscular stance. So that is what it looks like on the outside. Of course, there are going to be a lot of wheel designs on offer. These are the wheels that seem to be the more common choice here for our test cars. Now, quickly stepping in, that's the cabin. I like the design of the steering wheel. I think it looks really nice. It feels nice and chunky to hold. And the car's not switched on right now, but I'm going to show you this bit in more detail. But what I like is all this nicely opens up. You have the AC vents in here. When you turn off the car, they're nicely shut off, giving this a very clean design. So it's all straight lines, but it doesn't really look very boring. It looks quite sporty. Everything literally falls easily at hand, but there are not too many switches. If you see, that's a big panel right there. I'm going to come to that in a bit of a detail now. Let me show you that in detail. But the switchgear has been reduced, so there is no switchgear clutter as such. Range Rover Velar inspired interiors. I won't say they are inspired from the Range Rover Velar, but I think that is where everyone is headed. So compared to, say, the S-Class, which had those massive two massive screens in line with each other, this one has a more layered sort of an approach. You have the virtual cockpit, and then you have one screen here and one screen at the bottom. So it's a layered design, arguably more ergonomic, but I think the S-Class, even if it doesn't look that great as compared to this, it makes more sense because you don't have to get your eyes too far away from the road if the infotainment and the instrumentation is in the same line. And at the back, well, let me first show you the space. Acres and acres of space, as you would expect from a limousine of this category. Materials are really, really good. I like the feel of the leather. It feels quite different than what we have already seen in the Audi sold in India. I miss the pillows, but this is a nice soft finish for the headrest. All of this is adjustable, of course. You can also have lounge-like seating. And because this is the base model, it doesn't get a foot massager. The top end versions will come with a foot massager for the chauffeur-driven seat. That's basically taking the whole massage function to a new level with that foot massager. Chirag, that steering though, yes. Let's take a look at it again. That steering really, really looks good. And you also are going to have a tablet, much like the 7 Series. So the tablet basically comes to life, and that lets you control majority of the massage functions, rear air conditioning functions, even the window blinds and stuff. Very much like the 7 Series, but from what I've driven now and what I've experienced, I like the overall feel of it better. It is not one of those Samsung tablets that to me felt a little cheap in the 7 Series. This one feels more bespoke, something that is sort of custom made, more purpose built for this particular car. You also have more options to sort of recline your seats, adjust them as per your convenience, and that's for both the rear seats. You get quite a few massage options as well. There is a fragrancing system as well that we saw in the 7 and the S class. So to rival that, Audi does have a fragrancing system. Also, there is rear seat infotainment. The car is unfortunately not switched on right now, and the key is not here, else I would have shown you most of the functions. But yeah, so this also gets Wi-Fi capability. In fact, that is what I've been using right now. The car that I drove is somewhere there. It's been cleaned up, and I've been using that Wi-Fi to go live right now. But it's a really nice looking car, both inside and out. Now I'm just going to show you a few more things. Let me just quickly step into the lounge and show you a few more things. Anyway, so there are going to be quite a few engine options. There'll be two V6 engines right at the base, one V6 diesel, one V6 petrol, both 3-liter capacity. There'll be a V8 as well, and the top of the line, of course, it will be a 4-liter V8, and the top of the line will be this. This is the 6-liter W12. Now the W12 has always been the flagship for the Audi A8 range, and it continues to be even with the new A8. Now this is an all-new car. It is not a midlife revamp or a facelift. This is an all-new car, packs in a lot of new technologies, which I'm going to come to in a bit. So those are the specs for you. It puts out over 585 PS of power, 600 Newton meters of torque. That is the engine, sorry, 800 Newton meters of torque and 585 PS of power. This is the diesel engine, which I don't think will be the more popular choice in India anymore. India is now going back to petrol engines. They love the petrol engines more these days, and I think Audi will have some really good petrol engines on offer when the A8 comes down to India. So this is what the engine looks like, and that is the new chassis structure. So it makes use of 4 materials for its overall build. There is a generous use of aluminum, as you can already see. There is magnesium as well. All the reinforcements are in steel, and there is some use of carbon as well. Basically, the idea is to drop the weight. The new A8, despite its size, despite packing in so much more equipment now, is a more lightweight car. That is the chassis structure. Dynamic all-wheel steering. So Quattro is of course one of the main talking points of Audi, but this one now also gets rear axle steering. So it's a technology that comes from the sports car world. However, for a car like this, or something that we even saw on the SQ7, technologies like these basically help a vehicle as long as this. You can easily maneuver it in city traffic. Like I told you, we have been driving on some of the crowded city streets of Spain or Valencia, and maneuvering this car isn't a problem at all. We tried them in some tight parking spots as well, and maneuvering this car isn't a problem at all, and that's thanks to the rear axle steering. And that is the new active suspension. Now Audi AI, now that is a very important thing. Like I told you from the Frankfurt Motor Show as well, AI, or artificial intelligence, is something that Audi is playing or betting big on. This is the beginning of the whole Audi AI way of things. The A8 is the beginning of it, and it will only get better from here. There'll be a lot more technologies that will come under the artificial intelligence on how the vehicle interacts with its driver, how the vehicle interacts with other vehicles around it, other road users. All this will be a part of Audi's artificial intelligence. And that artificial intelligence is actually what gives this car its autonomous driving technology. In fact, well, those are the modules that is the control module for the autonomous, for all the AI functions of this car. So basically, this car comes with a big army of scanners and sensors that will keep scanning the road, that will keep scanning everything around it, and that basically gives it almost 40 new assistance systems. And autonomous driving is finally possible. It's a level 3 autonomous drive, which means that you don't need to have your hands on the steering wheel or your feet on the pedals to be able to take control of the car. The car will drive by itself in certain scenarios, and I'm going to come to that in a bit, or rather I'm going to come to that with my review. But the cabin that we are looking at, or the new infotainment that we are looking at, Well, this is a cutout of it, and this is a better way to show you. Now this is the virtual cockpit. It will be offered as standard across the range, and this is the new infotainment and control center. So basically, okay, let's take a look at the interface first. So it's got big tiles, it's all touchscreen, and it also comes with a haptic feedback, which means that every time you select something, there is a little vibration that plays in the screen that tells you that the right selection has been made. Now if you look at it again, once I select a particular tile, it first gets a colored outline around it that basically tells you that the right selection has been made, and then you will receive the haptic feedback, which basically shows you that the selection has gone through. So there, that was, you see that if I touch it, it gets this little colored line on top, which tells me that this is the tile I've selected, and when I press it, I get a haptic feedback and it's gone in. And whenever you need any sort of text input, you used to have this little rotary dial with the touch interface on it. Now you get this big touchscreen interface. So it's much easier to literally type or write on it. Now, for example, if I want to start, maybe look for the Center of Arts and Science. I'm not sure if it will show it, but if I say C, there. Now someone's already typed something. So okay, so let's say C E N. There you go. Right. So basically, you type in whatever destination you want to go to. You don't have to literally. It's much easier. You had the type interface earlier as well with the rotary dial, but with the bigger screen, it's much easier. Like I said, you don't have to get your eyes off the road that often. Now, the system also comes with Wi-Fi capability. So basically, you can. It's basically a SIM-enabled system. So you can put in a SIM card and it will get you all the internet capability right here on the screen. You don't have to pair your phone necessarily to give it any sort of internet capability. So it also comes with a hybrid radio, so you can play internet radio. It's a hybrid radio, so you can it will list everything from your internet radio subscriptions to your regular FM radio. So you can pick and choose. You don't have to go to different menus or go through different tiles to basically choose your music selection. There is, of course, a separate section for media, which is your connected media devices like your phones or pen drives or SD cards or whatever. Again, now when it's a text, when no text input is required, this screen basically becomes what used to be the regular AC controls. So that is what it looks like. You can either just keep tapping on it. Now there was a little bit of a debate when we saw something similar in one of this car's rivals, where a lot of you said that, you know, I have to probably take my eyes off the road to keep pressing it like that. That's why there is a new way of doing this. Just keep it pressed and just go up and down, as simple as that. So if you see, there's a red and a blue gradient to it, and you can just do that, and it's as simple as that. Again, no need to take your eyes off the road. So that sort of brings up the menu for all the air conditioning, the finer details of the air conditioning system. It's got an ionizer. It also has, like I said, a fragrancing system. You have the seat heater function right here. You can sync between the front two climate control options. It also lets you select what temperature you want to set for the rear. So it's basically a 4-zone air conditioning system. Even at the rear, you have controls for it. And if you would rather have your chauffeur do it for you, this is what you get. Again, ventilated seats, heated seats, both at the front and at the back. So yes, in terms of technology, it's all right there. You also get wireless charging. There's a big wireless charging pad, which is something that will be an optional equipment, if I'm not wrong. So well, that is what the dashboard is. That is what it looks like. And I'm just going to go back. So you have navigation, radio, telephone. Like I told you, there is wireless charging for it. Your media, phone apps, stuff about the car. So I'm not going to say that this is a foolproof system. There have been times where it hasn't, like there. I've been clicking on it, but sometimes it needs a slight bit of a dab and doesn't really work as smoothly as you would expect after using all your iPads and iPhones and other touchscreen devices. So it just needs a little getting used to, but of course it's not something that is too irritating. once you get used to it, you can use it without much of a problem. So the drive select is here. It lets you cycle between comfort, auto, dynamic, individual and efficiency. So this car will now also come with a new 48 volt electric system, which I'm going to go back to the car. So this car now comes with a 48 volt electrical system, which also gets it or enables it for new age technology. So no matter what engine you choose, there is some level of hybridization available with every engine. And even the engines that will come to India will have some level of hybridization. Now it will be like the mild hybrid systems that we have. However, because of the new 48 volt electrical system, the scope of that mild hybrid system is now much larger. So even the amount of time that it can or the speeds from which it can come to a complete halt all by itself or start by itself, the scope is much wider now. And at highway speeds, it can coast without you having to press the accelerator pedal. It can coast for about 40 seconds, which is again more of a fuel saving mechanism. And like I said, under the hood of this car are a slew of new electronics, the most important being the level 3 autonomous driving technology, which means that there are a few piloted programs where the car can literally drive on its own. So one of them, something that we've already seen in some of the cars, however, not to an extent where the Audi A8 does it. So some of which is basically the piloted parking, where the car can park by itself. Then there is another garage pilot, which basically again lets the car park by itself without you having to be inside the car. We've seen something similar on the 7 Series with the remote parking, but this one is slightly different, and I'm going to go in detail in some time, in about half an hour's time, where I can literally give you a demonstration of all those technologies. The biggest one, however, is the traffic pilot assist. So when you are in stop and go traffic of I think speeds up to 60 kilometers an hour, the car can drive all by itself. So that means you do not need to have your hands on the steering wheel or your feet on any of the pedals. You can literally be on your phone, eat a sandwich, do whatever you like, and the car will drive by itself. But that's purely in a stop and go traffic scenario, where it will sort of steer on its own for mild curves. It will not change lanes, but it will steer on its own for mild curves. Yes, it is basically something like the lane assist, so it will stick to its lane. But unlike some of the other cars that incorporate it already, which have level 2 technology, which keeps on prompting you to keep your hand back on the steering wheel and keep your eyes on the road, this one will not do that. This will do all the judging and all the scanning for you, which is the very important bit. So it can also judge the speed of the car in front of you, accelerate again, maintain a particular distance, and do it all on its own without you having to literally take control of any of it. It will do that for speeds up to 60 kilometers an hour, if I'm not wrong, and that pretty much takes care of most of the traffic jam scenarios that you will encounter. I know 60 kilometers an hour is almost the maximum speed you can ever get to in some of the metros of India, but we are also talking about maybe slow moving traffic scenarios on the highway where the car can actually take over. It will not it will not merge onto another lane. It will not change lanes on its own. That is something that you will have to do on your own. So if you are thinking of buying one of these cars and firing your chauffeur already, no, you can't do that. You will still need your chauffeur to do most of it. Plus, this car can park by itself, but it's not going to search for parking spots. But that technology is not too far away. It will be a part of Audi's AI program, where the car will literally search for a parking spot as well. Solid technology by Audi. Yes, can't expect this technology in India. You're true, Madhur, this technology will not come to India. We have already made it clear that we don't want autonomous technologies in India. Our governments have already made it clear. And in fact, I'm not sure how various governments or various legal bodies around the world are going to react to a car with this kind of technology. But yes, it is the future. That is what it will come to. Looks like it is out from an Iron Man movie. Yeah, I'm very sure they've already showcased this car once or teased this car before its launch in the latest Spider-Man movie. And I'm sure Tony Stark will drive one of these in some movie at some point of time. But yeah, even in a sober color like this silver that you see here, the gray that you see here, I think it looks really nice. I really like those sharp creases and lines on this car. That is what makes it look so beautiful. And like I told you, quite a few engine options to choose from. I expect both the V6s, the petrol and the diesel V6, and the petrol V8 to come to India. So when does this car come to India? 2018, sometime in 2018. In fact, that's the same time this car goes to the US as well. Of course, both are different markets. One is a left-hand drive market, one is a right-hand drive market, so nothing to do with the configuration as such. But Audi is evaluating on what technologies can actually be brought down to India and what will actually work and how they can package it. In fact, that is what it's down to right now. And once that is planned, the car will be ready to come to our shores. Like I told you, I have driven this car today, and my review will be up on Overdrive sometime soon. There'll be a video review of this car as well. That will go up on CNBC and our Overdrive YouTube channels. Now till then, I'm just going to freeze the frame on one of the cars and quickly go through your comments and see if there is anything that I missed out on, something that I can answer. So if you have any more queries, just shoot them through right away. I'm going to quickly go through them. Laws should be changed to stand head to head in the changing world. Dayal, you are right to an extent. However, it's not just the laws, but also how we can actually incorporate it. Infrastructure also needs to be developed to be able to incorporate such technologies. But yeah, it also has to start at the grassroots level. So what you and I can actually do is start being more obedient about the laws that are already in place. Make sure that we don't drive like maniacs, don't go around splitting between lanes, and actually maintain our lanes and, you know, abide by the laws that have been put together to make it better to drive for everyone. So that's the most basic change that we can bring along, and then hopefully laws and infrastructure should follow soon. Solid technology from Audi, yes it is. Yes, I've already shown the interior. I'm just going to show it to you again. Lane assist. Yes, this is much more than lane assist now. There are almost 40 new assistance systems, and I'm going to talk about them in detail in my review. So do stay tuned to it. Do stay tuned to Overdrive and all our social media channels for it. New A8 is awesome. Quattro is standard, I guess. Yes, Quattro is standard. You're right. No matter what engine you choose, there is Quattro that will be standard, a certain degree of hybridization that will be standard on across the range, and a certain degree of kit will be standard as well. When is it expected in India? Like I said, Karan, 2018, sometime in 2018. S-Class still preferable. I'm not too sure. We'll take a call on that at a later date when we actually compare this car to the S-Class and of course the 7 Series. Sunroof, Madhu, yes, good point. No sunroof. No sunroof on any of the test cars that we have here. I'm not sure if a panoramic sunroof or even a basic sunroof will be offered at a later stage, but I'm going to check on that. That's a good point. Anil says not much impressive, poor body design. Come on man, don't say that. I think it's a good looking car, but of course design is a personal choice. But I don't think it looks poor in any way. It's going to charge crores of rupees, and it definitely looks the price. It looks very premium. All the chrome is done very tastefully. It's not too bling, which is what was my biggest worry. I thought out in the open world all this chrome could end up looking too bling for my liking, but it's not. Back seat of the car I already showed you. I'm just going to show it to you again. The car that we saw earlier had bright upholstery. This one, it's got darker upholstery. It's a nice shade of brown, goes very well with the wood finish. It is open pore wood from an ash tree, and I just can't get over the finish of the leather seats. It really is nice. So yeah, that is what that rear seat tablet looks like. Like I told you, it's nice and slick. It lets you control the mood lighting, the matrix lights, a few settings of the matrix lights, of course. You have the reading lamps, Most of the lights used inside the car are all LEDs now, so that's more energy efficient in that sense. Background lighting, it lets you choose from quite a few color options, or it just lets you choose drive select. So depending on what driving mode you're in, it will sort of match it, either make it very sober and soothing or make it dynamic and sporty. You can also control the blinds for the 2 rear windows or the rear windshield. Like I said, a lot of seat functions as well, so you can do the seat adjustment here. You can choose from different seat massage options. You can also set your rear seat temperatures. You want cool seats, heated seats, and like I said, it's a 4-zone climate control, so you can set the 2 zones separately at the back as well, and that lets you control the seats, the recline. Not sure if you can see it. There you go, the seats moving a bit, so you can choose how much and how you want it to recline. There's also a lounge seat function, so there you go. So there, it just reclines a bit, gives you a little bit more comfort at the back. But nice comfortable seating in here. I like the materials, they all look quite posh. You can access the boot from here, or maybe not. So there's a inductive charging pad at the back as well, a little bit of storage space there. I don't like the finish on this little light there, but yeah, this is what it is all about. You have 2 cup holders, 12-volt charging socket, and a plug point, because this car is generally bought by businessmen. They might want to work on their laptops, so just a 12-volt socket won't suffice. Like I said, on the higher end trims of the A8, you also get a foot massager that is incorporated here. Unfortunately, this car or the other ones that I tried don't seem to have it. I already showed you the cabin, I already showed you the 2 screens, but this is what they look like when they are in the car and not in a cutout or in a kiosk. So this piano finish, I think it looks nice, but in a place like India where our conditions are going to be very dusty, I'm not sure how good it might look. But yes, your chauffeur is going to have an additional job of keeping it all clean every now and then. The switches over here, very nice, flush design. The center console is literally clutter free now, because most of it has moved on to this control unit, and that is the infotainment screen again. Those are the functions for adjusting the seat. Well, so I think that takes care of most of it. 5 seats not even as an option, strictly 4-seater. Of course, it's a business sedan, it's a limo. People who buy these cars want absolute comfort and luxury, so I don't see a reason why there would be 3 seats at the back. If I had the money to buy one of these, that's not how I would like to sit, brushing shoulders with someone. Hope it's launched in India with all the bells and whistles as the European market. Arvind, absolutely true, that is my opinion as well, because the competition is not easy. The S-Class is a very big and a very important name to contend with, and it's not very easy to contend with it in a market like India. So Audi will have to spec this car really, really well when it comes to the Indian market. Thank you, Madhu. This, of course, wasn't a review. This was just a walk around, just trying to show you guys everything that I could about this car. But of course, the review will be out soon. Like I said,